Hello everyone, my name is Deborah. I'll be your host on this show. This is Meet an Entrepreneur, and today I have a special guest here. Michael, do you mind introducing yourself?
All right, yeah, definitely. My name is Michael Mugisha. I'm a senior news producer and anchor and reporter and content creator. I've worked with several TV stations, business channels like CNBC Africa. That is the largest business channel in sub-Saharan Africa, covering over 48 countries. And I've written for Forbes magazine, but Forbes Africa magazine, which is owned by the same company that owns CNBC Africa, that is ABN Group, and worked for radio stations, a number of them.
Welcome
Rwanda's
to the
biggest.
show, Michael.
Thank you for hosting me.
You look very young.
Well, I don't know how that works out. I'm only 23, but yeah, not too
Wow.
young.
What's your story? What's the story behind your accomplishments?
Well, I think, I started out in the media industry, or like, say, in the news industry in the year 2013. I was only a high school student, and I was attending a school in Kigali. It's Lycée de Kigali. It was started in 1974 by the French. It was known as Lycée Français. And then I was in senior 5. Here in the United States, you call it grade 11. So I was in grade 11.
Okay.
And I always loved to read and write stuff. You know, like I take it from my father. My dad always taught me like to read and encouraged me to read newspapers for him, magazines. Well, he kind of had a comic part to it, because he could always tell me, okay, so this is Bush, this was Bush, you have to read it as Bush would say it. And I remember that very vividly. I think it was after the days of 9/11, and I could read and imitate Bush or Mandela sometimes. I'm not good at imitating, but I was a kid, so that was fun for me. So I grew fond of it, and when I was in grade 11 in 2013, I was like, perhaps this I could try it out. And my school was looking for a journalist, because I was already part of the student body. I was like, I can do it. I can do it. And I went there and started covering stories from around the school, like kids who have like entrepreneurial businesses that they're working on outside the school, those that are like, involved in sports, like the athletes, the stars and all that. I could cover them, and also bringing about like the outside world with the stories that have been covered by other journalists, so I would incorporate them. And from there I was like, this is what I want to do. I was a science student. Matter of fact, I am a software engineer. But I was interested in sharing my opinions, my views on things, and that threw me into that box. I was like, I could be always all of these things. So I started doing news at the school with the assemblies, and do shows, pre-recorded shows, and we'd put them out on the school radio, and they would be listening to them. I was like, yeah, this is something. So I did an internship with a radio station in Kigali, and after my senior year, I landed a permanent job. That was in January 2015. So since 2013, I was working on myself, growing the talent, of course, talent development, which is what I've been talking about a couple of times, because I think if you believe in yourself, you can do a lot of things. And from there, I grew through the ranks. I worked for one radio as a reporter producer, then grew into an anchor, then a radio host, then got into TV, and I was there managing over 20 to 30 employees.
Wow.
I think I was only 21. I won't kid you, but it was life-changing, because you don't know how much value it adds to you until you're doing it. And the people that you've been chasing start looking for you. Now that's interesting. I'm just throwing it in there. Just, it's very interesting, but my story really has more to do with just myself, but more with my country where I come from in Rwanda, Kigali. If you know about the story of Rwanda, maybe we will touch a little bit on that. We've had one of the miraculous transformations a quarter of a century, 25 years ago. What is happening now in the country is mind-blowing. No one can believe that.
Wow.
But I also was so much interested in becoming a journalist because I was looking at the way stories from Africa were curated and how they were told, and I was like, no, this is not who we are. This is not my story. They're telling it wrong. I need to tell it how it is. And that's exactly why I'm actually out here as well. Because I feel like people need to know what Africa and Africans are and are for. So it's been a lot of things.
Wow. So what does the African youth, to you, what is it like? If
Being
you
an
were
African youth?
Yeah, if you were to tell the story like it is, let's take the example of Rwanda.
Right.
What is it like? The mindset, the endeavors, what is it like?
Let me not just say their mindset, because it's very clear. If you know a little bit about the continent, you would know that Africa does not lack talent. If anybody say that we lack talent, that's like the wrongest statement ever. There is all sorts of talent on the continent. And that could be either physical or emotional or, any sorts of quotient. We have that. And I will tell you very simply, like right now, if you look at the level of jobs that are being created on the continent, we've gone from, being in the field to running businesses, e-commerce businesses, running businesses with the world, having to sit at the comfort of my home, just make an order through a company that is, started and operated in Rwanda or in Nigeria, the likes of Jumia, and get all my products at the fingertips. Now that is where Africa has gone, and the youth are enabling this. What do I mean by that? You would look at the continent where we say normally between 70 to 80% of the jobs that are created on the continent are created through small and medium enterprises and startups. And you're not going to see a 50-year-old getting involved in startup business. To do what?
Exactly.
There's no reason for them to get involved in that. They are just a few years away from retiring, so it makes no sense for them. But for young people like ourselves, there was a time where finding a job was near to impossible because the governments have tried what they can do, but you cannot get a job for everyone. So entrepreneurship was brought into the education system to instill the entrepreneurial skills in the young Africans. Because yes, you want to be an entrepreneur, but do you know what it takes to start a company, to run it, make profit? That was a different conversation. And right now, when you see some of the things that are happening, is young people are not job seekers anymore. They are job creators, and even better, solution providers.
Exactly.
Because yes, we have our challenges, and that does not mean that everybody else is, oh, there are no challenges in America. There are so many of them. But we stopped waiting for someone to come from all the way from the, government to come and be like, hey, Michael, I think you should do this. No. So the youth in Africa they are trying, they have tried and are still trying, to make a difference. And they are doing that. Because the reason why I say this is where I'm from in Kigali, Rwanda, you have, like, we've been, for the past 3-4 years, ranked as, some of Africa's biggest events hosting country. In just 3 to 4 years, we've hosted, I don't know how many of them. The World Economic Forum. Next year we're having the Commonwealth Heads of Government Meetings 2020. Royalty will be in the house. We have Transform Africa Summit, Youth Connect, which is on an African level. African Union Summits, extraordinary summits, all of them happening here. So entrepreneurs, techpreneurs, agripreneurs, all of them, art, PR, everyone, all of them converging on Kigali. And that is when you see that Africans are actually doing a difference. And young Africans, to be exact. Because someone is going to come and they're like, we are Blood Bank. I think it's Blood Bank, if not Life Bank. They're from Nigeria. I met them in Kigali, and they were talking about how they started an initiative to make blood readily available in Nigeria for people who have, like, accidents. Because it could be very hard for an ambulance to come to the rescue right away because we don't have so many of them anyways. But then people are like, no, we have to save lives. There is going to be, like, you can have a USSD code. You don't even need internet. And boom, you have blood right at the disposal. You can use it as you go into the hospital. You know what I mean? You see, recently Volkswagen launched in Rwanda, and young Rwandans got a chance to create the application that their fleet, ride-hailing, would run on. And that is going to be replicated all over Africa, but also everywhere else that Volkswagen will be looking to enter the market. What does that show you? We're capable of doing these things. But most of the times, the chances are not exactly available. Which is why Africans need to believe in young Africans. Even, not just Africans, anyone really. Because we are the people on ground. We know what the challenge is. And we know what the solution could be.
I like that. So here you are, you flew all the way from Kigali to cover an event here in Chicago. How did that happen?
Well, by the way of LinkedIn.
Whoa, social media.
Social media, again, people have had their conversation about social media, how bad it is, like how it's ruining this generation. And I'm like, no, that is up to you and how you consume it. If you consume it for the wrong reasons, like clout, it will consume you. But if you take it for the right reasons, then you will use it. I know so many people that have grown business off of Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, all of this, And I'm saying people that have pushed their product out. LinkedIn, I said I got here because of LinkedIn. That's how I knew Madame Toyin Umesiri. Texted her on LinkedIn because I saw her work and I was like, this is interesting. You know what I'm saying? So many entrepreneurs don't have a large summation of money to invest into advertisement. It is hell expensive. And I say that because I'm in broadcast business. I know a second on national TV, that's crazy. Radio is something else. In the newspaper, it's unaffordable. Those that can afford it, yes, they have it. But not a small and medium enterprise, not a startup. But they need to survive in the industry. The playground has been leveled, and social media has made that possible. You will go and use the money you have to run an advert by the street side, on a billboard or something like that. I do not have that kind of money, but I have LinkedIn, which is free. I have Twitter that is free. I have all these social media platforms ready available for me, and African youth have used that to their advantage.
Right.
They have, learned the way around it. So I say some use it for the wrong reasons, and others use it for the best reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to the young African entrepreneurs, one last word for them.
I think you should stay hungry. I don't want to take the words of Steve Jobs and make them mine, but you should stay hungry and always try to learn, because there's so many things in Africa that don't have a solution as of yet. And we're not going to wait for someone to come from the United States. I know, and I'm not talking down to African Americans or whatever. They are welcome to bring those solutions because Africa needs them. But as a special message to Africans, you have to wake up and create solutions for our challenges that are back at home. Do not wait for the government to do that. If you can start a company today that will employ only 2 people, those are 2 people with a job in your community. Maybe if the government started an automotive industry and they employed 1,000 people, that is their reach, not yours. So you do all in your means. And even if you could employ only yourself, that's great. Someone else will try something else. In your means, in your reach, do what you can do for the better of Africa. And right now that we have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that is a deal breaker because you can now trade with Gambia, with Comoros, with Benin Republic, with Nigeria, with South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, to mention but a few, without all these trade barriers, like tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, trade information, trade finance, all of these things that have been a problem all in the past. Right now, you can do all of this, and you have people to back you up. Yesterday, we were following a conversation with the Commissioner for Trade and Industry at the African Union, and we were Ambassador Albert Muchanga, and the lady, Mrs. Kanayo, from Frexham Bank. And they're telling you that African Union has put in place policies, but they're also ready to support you to go, international. Present to them your business. Look into what they're offering. If there is a way that you fall into that, the sky is not even a limit anymore. You can work with anyone around the world. Grow yourself, grow your community, grow your continent, and that's it.
Very valuable information. Thank you so much for what you do. The world is watching you. African youth is watching you. You are such an example for them. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Deborah, for hosting me. And I just really want to say that we need to wake up. We need to wake up and go to work. If we don't have a job, but there is a way that we can do something, do it.
The law of activity.
Yeah.
That is what it is. Thank you so much for watching Meet an Entrepreneur. Bye-bye.
Bye.